We're delighted to have Josh Phegan here with us today. He's flown in 23 hours from Australia. He's a leading international speaker, trainer and coach. 204 events, I believe, isn't it, on average?
That's correct,
per
yeah.
year. So we're very lucky to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Nicky.
Thank you. I wanted to ask some questions around fees, if that's okay. We've got lots of estate agents where new models are coming out and fees are always something that comes up, how to maintain high fees.
Sure.
So I just wanted to find out what your advice, what you're talking to your clients about at the moment in maintaining high fees.
Well, the first person that you always negotiate on fee with is yourself. So if you don't determine a fee structure that's going to be appropriate in order for you to be able to earn a profit, then you're not going to have a great business. And ultimately, a business that has resource allows it to be able to put on more people, have a better organisational structure, and provide a better level of customer service, which is ultimately what it's all about. At the end of the day, I'm sure that we've always bought something that was the cheaper version of something and then had to go back and buy the more expensive version when the cheap version didn't work. So in the absence of differentiation, the customer will always shop on price. So what's really important is that if real estate's all about location, 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 then business must be about differentiation, differentiation, differentiation. So therefore, how do you differentiate in a way that the customer actually cares about? And that's the most important part, because if they can't see the difference, they won't pay the difference. So in order to be able to maintain and uphold fees, it's really important to go more tactical. Tactical are the things that you do as an estate agent that actually separate you from your competitors in a way that the customer actually cares about. That could be access to more applicants, more of those people that are coming back for second viewings, more people that have missed out on properties of the recent nature that are actually prepared to pay a much, much higher sale price. It could be, for example, exposure to applicants from other marketplaces that are at a higher pound level where they're looking at different properties and then come into that next marketplace and actually end up paying a much, much higher sale price. It may also be that you do particular things that the customer really cares about. Now, ultimately, the customer really zooms in on effectively 6 key things, and that might be safety, performance, in addition to that, convenience, economy, reliability, or appearance. Now, we've seen entire words like the word convenience completely reshape entire industries. Look what happened to Apple with the music industry versus going into the HMV to buy a physical CD to now streaming it on Spotify. Right the way through to getting a video or a DVD at Blockbuster, all the way through to now streaming that on Netflix. And the consumer was ultimately prepared to pay more for convenience. In the estate agency industry, you must find out what it is that the customer really wants and pitch towards that specific thing. My belief is that most consumers today want a faster service. They have an expectation that from the moment that they put their property on the market until they actually have a transaction, that's going to be done in a relatively short period of time. So if you can sell to convenience, then they're going to be prepared to pay a much higher fee. But I think that the secret is that you must understand what you're doing with fees before you go to speak with the customer.
Great. And is it a case of understanding that at the valuation appointment or prior to the valuation appointment, or how do your best clients structure that so that they've got that information to hand?
Yeah, and that's a great question. You need to know the fee environment, and one of the most important questions to ask the customer, if one of these applicants came forward and made the decision to purchase your property, what would that mean for you? And that dialogue there, what would that mean for you, now allows the customer to tell you what their perceived preference might be. And that, for example, might be saying, oh, well, that would be great because now we can just get on with our job relocation. We can move to Spain and everything's just done very quickly, which makes it so much easier for us. Or maybe, for example, we've already been on the market with another estate agency firm for the last year. To actually just have the property sold would be a fantastic outcome for us. And just to know that someone could handle the transaction would be a great outcome. Now you're actually looking towards more safety and also performance. So this is really important because when I went to go and buy a new car a few years back, I sent home the brochure to my mum. I said, look how fast it goes from 0 to 60 miles. And so I was obviously very much along the performance mechanism. And my mum turned around to me and she said, and look, it has 32 airbags. So she was very much on the safety element. So it is possible that in a husband-wife scenario, maybe in a mum and dad scenario, all of the above, that you might have 2 people with 2 completely different perceived needs. The secret, find out which one of those needs is the most important to them and they will pay more with pleasure. The other thing is to remember that often the consumer will buy a particular product or service because of the one thing that it does, not the 200. So let's say, for example, that a new iPhone was coming out and that new iPhone had 10 days worth of battery life. There'll be a number of people that will just buy it purely just for the battery life component rather than any other advancement in the technology. So you must find out what is it that the customer really wants and be able to sell that particular difference to them in a way that they see value. And at the end of the day, people make a decision between a Ford and a Ferrari every day of the week. Some people see much better value in a Ferrari. And it's not because of how fast it's going to get them there, but because of the perception of driving that particular type of car. When they pull on your estate agency to be their estate agent, why are they going with you? And what I often say is that most people have already chosen their estate agency practice. So from that point of view, if you've already built a long relationship over time, particularly with that person who has actually bought the property from you, and then over the course 2, 3, 4 years later, when they make that decision to sell, they're going to be using someone that they already know. They therefore end up paying probably a higher price point than they do if you knew that you were going in against 4 or 5 competitors. And that's why I always think family and friends always end up paying more than a normal consumer on the side of the street.
So what advice can you give for keeping in touch with those buyers and sellers that have transacted in the previous 4 years or so?
I think that the critical component is to understand that you are moving past lead generation into really building a great business around what we call lead nurture. And lead nurture is about getting on the phone and speaking to the customer every single time that there is a significant listing or a significant sale that's actually happened in the area, and making just a very short call just to let that client know. Hi Nicky, Josh Phegan calling. Just a very quick courtesy call to let you know that we've just had a new instruction at number 24 Smith Street. It's a very similar property to yours. We're having some viewings there on Saturday. If you'd like to pop through, have a quick wander through, we can even give you a bit of an idea on what that might mean your place is worth. Would it be okay if I let you know when it sells and what it makes? By the way, how are things with you and how's the house? It's a very relationship driven call. It's a very simple phone call. We're not asking for the business, we're not touting for the business. We're just looking to be able to build that relationship. When the property does sell, hi Nicky, Josh Phegan calling. Just wanted to let you know that that particular property has actually just been sold. Did you hear how much it sold for? It sold for £1 million. Based on that, what does that now mean your place is worth? Would it be an advantage for us to pop over to give you a bit of an idea on what your home is worth in the current market? So I'm a big believer in becoming the friend in the business. And in becoming the friend in the business, you become that trusted advisor based off the new listings, based off the new sales or new lets that have been happening in the area to advise that particular owner of those outcomes. And when they're ready, they will come for you. And that's the most important part of the relationship building.